gonna hurt tomorrow. It's gonna hurt the next day. But that's in the moment when you're a competitor and you're a gamer, as everyone says, we've got to find a gamer. That stems from mental toughness. You're ready to go at all times, no matter what's thrown at you, and you're gonna play well. Being available and being ready to go for every night, that's traits that can't be replicated.
What's going on, guys? This is Brian from Advancement Hockey Advising here. Today we got a really cool interview here with Kyle Makaric. Now, for those of you who don't know Kyle played at the USports level for 4 years, where he actually did really well, and he was actually a walk-on, which is really, really cool, as you guys will see in the interview here. Did that, played for 4 years, had a successful hockey career, and then he transitioned into coaching. He actually wound up back at the USports level for coaching, so he's got a really cool perspective as to what it takes to get to the USports level as a player, and then as a coach, what they look for, how they recruit. You're going to get into his mindset with that. He most recently transitioned to the CCHL, where he's coaching the Ottawa Junior Sens, which is one of the top programs in Canada. So honestly, he's going to have a lot of really cool value to give to you guys. So I really encourage you guys to listen up here, take some notes if you have to, because he's really got some really good gold nuggets of wisdom to give to you guys. Before we dive in though, as always, just a quick reminder to absolutely destroy that like button. And if you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss another video moving forward. All right, guys, let's dive right into the interview here with Kyle. All right, Kyle, glad to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. All right, so I guess we can just dive right into it here. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your hockey and coaching background?
Yeah, so Kyle Makaric. I grew up in Windsor, Ontario. Played locally down here, mostly single A. I played 1 year of AAA coming up into what would be major midget down here. And that was a big year for me personally as a player, a lot of growth. Kind of figured out what my role could be and how to excel at the next level, and played a year of Junior C, 3 years in Chatham in the GOJHL, which it's called now, and then ended up playing university hockey at the University of Windsor for a few years before getting into coaching.
Gotcha. So when you played in the GOJHL, did you kind of just naturally progress there? Did you have other Junior A teams maybe talking to you? How did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so played the first year of junior in Kingsville and had a pretty good year as a 17-year-old and got recruited by Chatham. They were out watching our games and basically committed to me out of that season, and I got a chance to jump in and play right away. It never was really a Junior A thing. I never looked outside, to be honest. We kind of stayed together for a few years before making our way to hockey after junior. So there was never really the idea of leaving and going away from home and playing somewhere else. It wasn't accessible. You didn't really have the information the way that you have now with guys like yourself and advisors helping people move around. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a bit different back then. Now, to get recruited from the GOJHL out of USports, I don't see that as being very common anymore. How'd that process kind of come about? So I really didn't get recruited to USports. I was recruited to be a Division III player. A lot of interest that way from teams, and I visited a bunch of schools with a few of my teammates. We had some great trips. I won't forget driving through the night to get to Plattsburgh. We had a game, finished the game, and we were going to go the next morning, and we just kind of decided, we're kind of wired. We could probably make this trip tonight, and left from Chatham and drove the 10 hours to visit Plattsburgh. And after doing the whole kind of looking around at the options of Division III and what the costs and the pros and cons, I just figured I'd stay home and try to make the University of Windsor as a walk-on. Yeah, for sure. Okay, I didn't know that about you. So that was going to be my next question. Why did you choose USports over D3? So how confident were you coming in as a walk-on on making the team? Because that's a pretty big risk, given that if you had like options at the D3 level. Yeah, so the D3 thing seemed like a sure thing. You knew what you were going to take in school, and everything was prepared that way. You knew kind of where you fit in the lineup. And when we looked at the cost and the offset and what it would working as a student throughout the summers and the cost of school in the States at that time, and I didn't have marks that could get academic scholarships for a Division III. So I was looking to have to pay everything out of pocket in the American dollar. And it wasn't going to work out. The numbers didn't make sense. So I looked at it, called up Kevin Hamlin, who's still the coach at the University of Windsor, and kind of asked what the process was to try out. It was pretty basic at the time. He said, just show up. This is when we start. I didn't register for school or anything. And it was just one of those scenarios. Came to camp. They had a full team. There's one forward spot available, and a lot of the 89s that I grew up playing with, some of the real good players in my age group were also out there. So at first I was kind of nervous about it, but that was a really big summer in terms of training, and had a great group of guys that were my peer group that we worked out every day. Same 4 guys every single day, pushed each other, and I showed up to the camp, and the work that we had done before set up for the opportunity to make the team. And I just came out flying and had a really good camp. Played a couple exhibition games. We actually played the Czech junior team that first year, and we played a couple games, scored both nights, and made the team from there. So just put the nose down and kind of figured out a way to extend my hockey career.
Unreal, man. And how are those 4 years when you studied there and you played there? How did you enjoy it?
It was good. So this is kind of finding out where you fit and what your role and things like that are. Going to USports, making it as a walk-on, I was an in and out of the lineup guy. I never played consistently. I never played a full 28-game schedule. I had to find my way where I belonged, in and out of the lineup, being a good locker room guy, staying positive. Essentially got into the details of the game and coaching from that. I realized that if it was going to be somebody that came out of the lineup and I wanted to stay in, I needed to have some sort of edge. It wasn't going to be any sort of physical tool or hockey ability. It was going to try to get as much of the details of the game down as I could and know exactly what we were doing. So I just started to really focus and dive into video sessions and extra time and try to make that my niche. And it ended up pushing me more down the coaching path than the playing side.
And how, like, I've been in and out of the lineup before. It's not easy. You know, it's one thing to say, keep positive, it's going to be good. But if you're doing that for, 3-4 years, it's very hard mentally. What are some things you kind of did to kind of push through that and to keep that positive attitude? How do you even go about that?
It's one of those things. It's never what anyone thinks. When you're younger and you're playing hockey and you're scoring goals and you're working your way up and you're playing junior, you always think that you're going to be the guy, and it's always going to come naturally, and you're just going to keep advancing. But then you get to that peak where the level of your game matches the best that you could possibly be. In USports, I was at the bottom end of the spectrum. So for me, it was just to make sure that we're pushing the guys every single day, working hard in practice, staying available, not getting hurt, doing well in the classroom, and just always being a good teammate. So when you're out of the lineup, it's so easy to get in a little group, and it's so easy to say that this guy's wrong, or, my teammate, I should be in over him. And that's really a loser's race. Like you can't be doing that. These are your closest friends, and just, you got to, for yourself, stay positive and just hope that the next opportunity is going to come. And then when it does, you have to be prepared. But more than anything, you got to be a supportive teammate, because if someone's having a bad game or they get out of the lineup, the spot that they're in. So you can always be a positive guy, shoulder to lean on in that case. And I think that's helped me well when I have to scratch a guy now as a coach, or I need to understand where they're coming from. I've seen both sides of it. Yeah, for sure. And it's great advice, but I know from experience, it's much easier said than done to stay positive, not get in that little group and kind of just crap on people who are playing, say, hey, I can be better than this guy and all that. It's really important to be a good teammate, have that positive attitude, and to be like day in and day out in practice, really battle for your spot. So when you do get the opportunity, that you show up and you actually play well, because if you get that opportunity, you might not get it again for a while. So it's really important to show up. You know what? On that note, like, you're right, but I think that a lot of those things, I can't just say it came naturally from me. Like, when I first got there and I started to get in and out of the lineup, whether it was at the USports level, we had great leaders, older guys that have been there. And when they kind of show you that it is what it is, it's okay. Hey, this is the path that you need to go on, and then I get to pass it forward. It didn't come organically from me. It was learned over time from the older guys that we had, and kind of like listening to their advice and passing it on, and just kind of living by those guidelines. And that's what ends up having a successful team and a positive culture. The year after I was done playing, that the same group I had played with won a Queen's Cup, and we just always had that genuine care for each other, and we wanted to make sure that everyone was getting pushed every day, and it ended up resulting in a championship. Yeah, for sure. Now, you touched on leaders. How important is leadership on a hockey team? I think it's very important, and we kind of get put in when you think of hockey, and that's just the base level. When you think of leadership, you think of just the guys who have the letters, right, or the coaches. But it's so much deeper than that. Every single guy in the dressing room, to a certain degree, has to be a leader. It could be in the course of a very small detail, like a certain shift. You're on the penalty kill, and a guy takes a shot and he can barely get up. Now you got to step up and do a little bit extra for that guy. That's being a leader. Or if your practice gets changed, time gets changed, something like that, and you can't get a hold of somebody, making sure that you're calling them, you're emailing them, doing whatever you can to get their attention, so everyone makes sure they get there on time. That's being a leader. I think that it's so important in the development of these young men through junior and beyond. Because when you leave hockey, which we can't play forever, when you get out and you get a job, you need it more than ever. And people want athletes. They want people who've succeeded, been on winning teams, obviously, and been included in sports, because those are the type of guys that help companies and you really band around each other when you go through the trenches of a sport like hockey. And I think that nothing teaches leadership more than the camaraderie that we have and having to do it every day.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. Now, kind of transitioning a bit away from, playing the game and being on the team and transitioning to coaching. How did you make that transition after the 4 years that you played there?
Yeah, so I went from playing, and I realized I wanted to coach, and got to the end of my time as a player and kind of saw the combination of the writing on the wall and some new interests and passions in myself, and reached out to our local AAA organization here, and they had an opening as an assistant coach for Major Midget, and I played Major Midget, and I thought that would be a great fit. Started with a coach locally here, Rob Service, he's actually a A21 now, the prep school, and he was great. He coached for so many years, and he said, listen, you're super excited, you got all these ideas, and you really want to get after it, so you might as well just go for it. I'll support you. If there's anything that sounds crazy, we'll reel you in a little bit. So he let me just do everything, run practices, make the plans, pre-scouts. He just go ahead, take over and do whatever you think is right. And that was huge for me at the time.
Yeah, I know that's huge. You kind of gave you that freedom to do what you want. That's how you learn, right? If someone's always micromanaging you, it's harder to learn that way. So it's awesome that you kind of got that freedom to do not obviously whatever you want, but to have a bit of creativity in your coaching style and everything. Since you've been at the playing level of U Sports and you've coached at the U Sports level, I kind of want to touch on the recruiting process. Like, what was it like to get recruited as a player? We kind of touched on that before, but as a coach, what were you looking for in players at the U Sports level?
So it took on a pretty big role in the recruiting. Obviously, these positions, coaching, you don't have a big scouting department. Essentially, the 3 coaches, 4 coaches, whatever you have, you guys kind of band together and take big chunks. Once you get outside of junior hockey in your local area where you're recruiting for the most part, and you get into U Sports, it's all over. It's Canada, the United States, it's major junior, it's tier 2 junior A. There's guys everywhere. So you really got to kind of divide and conquer, and you have to have a plan of what you're looking for. And you don't really want to settle for anything other than a player that's going to make your program better. There's all these guys want to keep playing. You get calls from coaches and agents, and obviously like yourself, that are trying to promote their players. And you really got to look through, find exactly what's going to benefit your program. And it can't always be the 25, 26, 28 most skilled players, the leading scorers of their team. You got to find some other guys that can play a role, some of those real character, heart and soul guys. And it's just piecing together what you need in that certain year and getting the best recruit class that you possibly can.
And I have a bit of a hard question for you here. You probably won't like it, but at the U Sports level, typically, what's like the typical resume of the more bottom end type of player that you're going to go for? Just because a lot of players ask us this question, like, what does it take to play U Sports? And I feel like coming from you, it might be a better answer than from us.
Yeah. So when you look at what it takes to play U Sports, it's the recruiting aspect. It's kind of tough for guys that aren't playing major junior. So major junior guys, they have the school money, they want to keep playing. They kind of filter out to be your top recruits. Yeah. That doesn't mean they're always going to be your best players, but they're definitely going to be they get the first look. They've automatically been given that throughout their time, and they have money to go to school. So they kind of filter their way out. But what we're looking for to make a roster and just to kind of be a walk-on or crack the team or get one of those spots is you have to find a way to buy into a role. So if we can see when you're watching a game and you're watching a guy who's a 20-year-old in his junior A program and he's a really good player, but he's only an offensive guy, it won't translate. So you got to do other things. You got to be blocking shots. You got to be out there in the penalty kill. If you can't be trusted to play late in games or play in the penalty kill as a 20-year-old in junior A, it's going to be tough to crack the bottom of the lineup and make a team at the U Sports level. So I think we're looking for these guys that they want to make the team or they want to be recruited. You got to make sure you're playing both ways, and you got to be able to fill in somewhere in the lineup. And you're not always going to be the top guy. You're always going to be a goal scorer.
Yeah, for sure. So all you junior A guys watching out there, take notes on this one. Really be able to do all those little things like win face-offs, block shots, finish your checks, all this stuff. Because at the junior A level, you might be one of the better guys. You go to U Sports, it's a whole different ballgame, right? So you have to be able to do those little things.
And all you got to do is get there. Because once you get there, you got these guys, you look around, you go, oh, you played 4 years in the OHL. Once you get there and you're on the team and you show what you can do, you win those face-offs, it doesn't matter anymore. You're all playing for the same team. It doesn't matter what gets you have underneath. Once you put your jersey on, it's all the same, and the best 20 guys are going to play every night, regardless of where you played before.
Yep, 100%. Couldn't agree more. So moving forward now to the CCHL where you're at now, what's that experience been like compared to coaching at the U Sports level?
It's great. Like the CCHL, I knew about it minimally, I guess, before getting the job and moving down there. But everything from the game day preparation, the volunteers that we have at OJS, but all the teams, the other coaches in the league, everyone's so detailed. The hockey's great. The product is really good. Scouts are there all the time watching, talking to us, Division I, Division III. We've had a couple of NHL scouts roll through this year. So for me personally, looking at the way the league is organized and the way it's run, we have great officials. Our officials are moving up. You see them turn on the TV to watch the World Juniors. We got the same linesmen and officials that we have in our league. So nothing but positive things to say about the CCHL from my vantage point. Being from Windsor, Ontario, lower, you think that the OJ is the kind of highest junior A league, then you know about BC. But venturing out, there's good hockey all over the place, and playing some of those teams at the national tournament. It really goes to show that no matter where you are in Canada, any one of these junior A leagues, there's an opportunity to get seen, and there's an opportunity for any team to really showcase the guys that they have. It doesn't you'll hear different things and you see these players. It's almost like a lateral move, but anywhere you can go and play in junior A, like a place like the CCHL, if you're going to be in the lineup every night, whether you're 20 years old, 18 years old, it's a great league, great showcase for the guys.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it too, honestly, as an advisor and as a player that's played there before. It's really good hockey, good skill. Little, it's physical, not the most physical league, but it's definitely got some physicality to it. I really like it as a whole. A lot of, like you said, a lot of NCAA D1, D3 scouts that scout there. And on your point that you said too, like if you're going to go, let's say a league like the CCHL, where you're on a team that you're going to play every night and be in a big role, that's a lot better than going to a league like, let's say, the USHL or the BCHL that may be ranked a little bit higher. But if you're not going to play, arguably, I would say it's better to go on the team that you're going to play. You could correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I think that's my stance on it.
That's a great point. That's an excellent point. So you talk about those guys that, what do we do to play U Sports? The same kind of question, circle back using this point. So if you go to, you're a good player on your junior A club and you're on the top line, you make that move to what could be considered one small step of a better league, and you're not in the lineup anymore every single night. You're just playing on the third and fourth line. We're still recruiting the best guys, but they can just play in any scenario and they can be moldable. You still want guys that when you do get that opportunity against high level players, high level teams, great goalies, they can still score and make plays and finish. If you go, we're not really scouting the best of the best leagues for the bottom guys. Whatever league you're going, we're watching, we're still looking for the best players on the ice every night. And if you're not even in the lineup, it makes it very hard to find you.
It's very, very true, honestly. Yep. Moving forward here after the CCHL, obviously you want to keep moving up and up as a coach. Do you have an idea as to where you want to go, or is that kind of out in the open?
Just kind of out in the open. I really enjoy what I do now, and kind of don't want to, in this, anything you do in hockey as a player, as a coach, once you have your team, you don't really want to look ahead or look past what you're doing in the moment. I always tell our guys, you want to be where your feet are, focus on today. If you're at the gym, if you're at the rink for practice, it's what you're looking at now. I want to be a career coach. That's my end goal, but looking to where that could possibly take me, kind of open-ended. My wife's super supportive. She's been exceptional with me moving to Ottawa. We got engaged, and about 2 weeks later, I told her, change your plans. I'm moving to Ottawa for hockey now. Nice. But she's been incredible with it. So as long as you have people like your family, your wife that supports you, and you have a dream and a goal, I want to end up somewhere on a bench where I can be a career coach and I don't have to work a regular job anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I had a feeling you were going to give that answer, because everyone, like all the coaches I talk to, they always say, hey, I'm focusing in the moment. If the opportunity comes, great. But it's true, you don't want to look too much ahead, because if you're in the moment, you're doing what you need to do, the opportunities will come at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a couple more questions for you before we kind of wrap up. Since you've recruited a lot and everything, what are maybe the top 3 on-ice skills that you look for in a hockey player?
Yeah, I would say when it comes to the on-ice portion of the game, the number one most important thing, and you probably hear it all the time, is you got to be able to skate. Yeah. If you're spending time in the off season on anything and you're getting lessons or you're with a trainer, you got to skate. You got to get good reps in. You got to get focused on the attention to making yourself a better skater. be in the best condition you can, be in the gym to make sure you're super powerful and agile and you could skate really well, because that's the one thing that everybody noticed and everyone will pick up on is skating ability. It pops. And if you're at training camp, you just fly around, you get noticed no matter what. What number is that guy who's flying around, jerseys flapping in the wind? No matter what would be on ice, I'd say skating. For me, like a poised confidence, that really shows too. If you got the puck and there's a guy who's chasing you and you're calm under pressure, you're looking to shake him. There's no panic. You get a puck and an opportunity to score, heads up, looking at your target. Those type of things really stand out. It's real easy for every single coach to say like compete level, but the on ice portion of hockey, that is probably the most important skill. Doesn't matter how good guys are and how skilled. You see so many players, especially when they're young and they really don't get it, who could be watching today, who's watching this practice, this game, this scrimmage, whatever it may be. They'll take the first 3-4 seconds in the shift off, and then they'll pick it up when they have the puck. People notice that. And if you get seen and you kind of have an opportunity, you get crossed off the list, a lot of people don't go back and change their mind. You have to really break down the door to change someone's first impression of you. And that's the same thing with anything in life, right? So I would say those things: skating, confidence, poise with the puck, and compete level.
Yeah, those are 3 great points. And there's a reason why a lot of coaches mention the compete level, because it really does make the difference between if you're going to win that extra puck battle, make that extra play that'll transition to that extra goal. You know what I mean? And really, it's a big difference. And one thing that you can just see in the player, if they compete that much more, you see the difference they make on the ice. I know it's hard to describe, but it really does make that big of a difference.
Absolutely. And it's when it shows, and you see guys that stop on pucks and they're always around the net, and every time that the pucks transition, whether it's their turnover or somebody else's, hitting the brakes, those first 3 strikes the other way, you know that when any given night you put them in, if they don't have their best stuff, if they're not going, their legs aren't pumping, they're not flying, if you know that they're going to compete, worst case scenario, their B game is going to be something that's going to be productive, and it's not just going to be a waste of a night or a wash. So that's why everyone values it so much, and it's the number one thing we look for at OJS.
100%. Where do you think that comes from?
A lot of it's how you're raised, right? How you do things around the house. I guess if you have siblings and things that are always pushing you, and you can't accept losing, and you're fighting back, and or you get into a team aspect, whether it's hockey, any other sport, and you're not content, you always want to push further. I think that it's grown. Anyone can be a competitor in anything that you do, but it's that grit. It's just finding a way at all times. Practice, games, show up. If you're going to put your equipment on and you're going to go, then you got to give it everything. There's no days off. And I think that starts with your parents and how you're raised, and then it's just funneled through your own personal beliefs and the coaching and the lessons you have throughout your life.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think for me, it was two main things. From when I grew up battling, I didn't have any brothers or siblings, but I had my cousins that all play hockey, and we all battled it out every single time. And if you lost, like, they gave it to you, you know what I mean? If they beat you, so you didn't want to lose. So that was the first thing. Second thing was being on really great championship mentality teams. Those kind of teams, they push you to get better. The mentality is never to be complacent, always to get better. And I feel like being on those teams, it kind of elevated my mindset and my compete to the next level. So I think that and your belief systems, like you said, I think those things are the main things that kind of drive that compete. So kind of related to this, what are like some of the top character traits that you look for, maybe aside from compete players?
I kind of leave that as an on-ice type of thing. You could see them and how they work, but I'd say character traits, they gotta love it. They gotta love the game, because those days when you got other stuff to do and you got to get up, you got to leave your friend's house, you got to leave an event, school event, something to go to hockey. You got to really love it to get to the rink and do your best when there might be things that you're interested that's going on that day or the next day, and you're in the moment. You got to love it. You got to watch hockey, care about it. As you get older, you start to see guys that they're just so good at it that they keep playing, but their passion kind of dwindles. And if you want to be the guy to beat out some of the people, beat out some of your peers, you got to love it. So that drive and that motor to just bring it all the time, I'd say is a character trait. But more than anything is mental toughness, right? You show up to the rink and your ankle's not taped properly. Is that a wash for you that day? You go to the game and first shift you make a bad play, you get scored on. For younger guys, as they're kind of growing and maturing through that could be it. It's curtains for the night at that point. Their confidence is low. They don't really want to. I can't make any better situation out of this, right? Everyone goes to the negative right away, and I think that if you're mentally tough and you can show up every single day and bring it to whatever degree that you can, whether you're hurt, tired, showed up late, fight with your girlfriend, bad mark at school, and you can show up and bring it. That's how you end up progressing through hockey. That's how you play pro. And all the guys that I've played with and guys that turned out to be pros, Division I guys, they all have that one aspect. They're mentally tough. Nothing's going to slow them down.
Yeah, I think that mindset and the mental toughness is one of the most important things for hockey players to have, because it's not easy, right? And I know a player, probably one of the most talented players I've ever played with. If he didn't score in the first 10 minutes of the game, that was it. Like he was done. And just if something happened, like say like ankles bothering him or whatever, he was just checked out. And it's unfortunate, because if he wasn't like that, this guy would have probably went on to play like extremely high-end pro hockey, a very, very good hockey player. But it just goes to show how important it is. What do you think? Like how do you even foster mental toughness? How do you like come about having it?
I think that you have to you kind of got to be self-aware. You got to reflect. You got to look inwards. When you're younger, especially as a player, everything can be somebody else, right? The coach isn't playing me. It's not my fault. It's somebody else's fault. I didn't get the puck on this shift. It's somebody else's fault. We got scored on. That's all right. I had my guy, right? You got to kind of look inwards and say, am I really doing what I can here? Did I prepare as much as I could to be good in this game? And if so, if you did, then it's real easy to be mentally tough, because all right, it's a one-off. I wasn't great tonight. I'll regroup. I'll be better tomorrow because I've put in the work. And it all stems from that. It all stems from your preparation. But mental toughness, that can be developed and harnessed like any other skill. You gotta train your brain the way you train your shot, your passing ability, skating, anything. I get put in tough situations where you're out of the lineup, you're injured, you find a way to fight back, use that as an example, and just always grow from that. And that's how you foster it.
Yeah, for sure. The motto I kind of follow that I like is that you, maybe not every day, but consistently, you put yourself through uncomfortable situations. And if you do that more and more and more, then you get kind of what's the word? You get more accustomed to dealing with those situations. And then when something you can't control comes along, let's say you get scratched, or let's say your ankle is not taped up the right way, whatever, it doesn't seem as challenging as if you just kind of coasted on easy mode the entire time, you know? So that's kind of the way I see it, and kind of what you're describing as well.
Absolutely. Like people think of when you're watching Sports Center and you go through all the different times, you think of like, well, I do anyways, where you watch like Tiger Woods and he can't walk and he can't stand, and he's on Sunday, and where does he find it to come in? It's a great story, and everyone's just applauding everything that he's doing. But it's so easy just to mail it in there. And I'm hurt. Might take this one off, but you grind through and find a way. That's just all mind. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt tomorrow. It's gonna hurt the next day. But that's in the moment when you're a competitor and you're a gamer, as everyone says, we've got to find a gamer. That stems from mental toughness. You're ready to go at all times, no matter what's thrown at you, and you're gonna play well. And that's the being available and being ready to go for every night. That's a trait that can't be replicated.
100%. You're getting me fired up right now, Kyle.
Yeah.
So last question I got for you here is, what's like one last piece of advice you'd like to give to young hockey players out there that we didn't really kind of touch on today?
I mean, for me personally, and this just kind of stems from, I got this from my dad all the time. As I was growing up and I started to really compete and get into it, I'd be kind of crazy. When games would happen, I'd be so intense and fired up and so mad about different things. And he would always ask if I had fun, no matter what. I could be screaming this, that. And he said, "Did you have fun? Did you have fun?" Once you get to a certain age and you love hockey and you want to play, you can't stop having fun, right? There's going to be times that challenge you, like you said, to have mental toughness and things like that. But always find a way. Remember why you started playing. Remember your why you began, how you loved it, playing with your buddies. Like at the end of the day, you got 23 best friends and you're out there skating around. You're in good shape. Like you're playing hockey at a high level. Just as long as you're having fun and you're working as hard as you can, you'll have success to whatever you do, but you got to have fun with it.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's a great last message to end on. Kyle, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. It was great having you here. I'm sure the people watching really appreciate it and all the value you kind of provide in your answers. So great stuff. And maybe, who knows, you'll come for a round 2 here and dish out some more advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
All right. Great having you. Thanks.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, guys, that is it for the interview here. Honestly, incredible interview in my opinion. I thought Kyle gave a lot of really good, valuable advice. And for such a young guy, he's so knowledgeable, so mature, and I loved having him on. It was a great interview, and I actually learned some insights from it too. So honestly, I love interviewing these guests. They're always great. So if you did get value out of this interview, if you liked it, and if you haven't already, absolutely destroy that like button. It really goes a long way here. Also too, if you're new here, you want to see more of this kind of content, more of these great guests coming on, consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss another video moving forward. Also too, if you have any questions for us, for Kyle, anybody, consider dropping a comment down below or send us a private email at info@ahadvising.com and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. All right, guys, that's it for the interview. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on that next one.